Luke, so as of now, as of tonight, Donald Trump is still backing Mike Waltz. What are you hearing from your sources at the White House about the sentiment there this evening after Mike Waltz's defense there, that they're going to find out? I don't know why they need anyone technical to find out how they got somebody on a group chat.
Yeah, well, there are certainly people inside the White House who believe this was a very stupid mistake and, are using sort of derogatory terms to refer to Mike Waltz. That said, I do think there's been a rallying around him within the White House. And, Donald Trump has sent the message that we're not going to throw him under the bus for his mistake here, that he's not going to be the fall guy, that we're not going to remove him. And basically, the message that's gone out to the staff is to blame the journalist, that it's, I guess it's Jeffrey Goldberg's fault for being added to the text thread, right, and then writing about it. So, it's a shifting of blame, obviously. And you can see that Waltz is, in some ways, ingratiating himself with Trump by attacking the media whenever he's given the chance to talk about this. He accepts a little blame for himself, but he does the thing that Trump wants to have happen, and that is
go on the offensive.
The journalist.
Yeah, always go on the offensive and attack everybody and never take kind of full responsibility, even if you acknowledge it, which leads me to the Democratic response. And certainly we saw a lot of that today on Capitol Hill. Now you have some calling for Pete Hegseth and Mike Waltz to resign. Some Republicans expressing concern, no one officially coming out saying this is an offense worthy of a resignation of these two officials. What are you hearing from lawmakers?
Yeah, I think that we saw yesterday kind of like broad shock from both parties, which is unusual. But we did hear some actual concern voiced by Republicans on Capitol Hill. But, they tend to rally around what Trump wants. Like this Congress, the overarching theme of this Congress is that they are compliant to the White House. So now that Trump has made it clear that he's standing by Walz, I don't think that we're going to see Republicans calling for his head. In fact, Mike Johnson, as Speaker of the House, he has the ability to conduct oversight hearings and investigate what happened here. And he made it very clear that that's not happening, that, the White House is taken care of. And that's that, because he is not functioning generally as a head of a co-equal branch of government. He's acting more as a partner to Donald Trump. So we're going to see, I expect here, more of the same, which is they take their lead from the White House.
Nayyera, the interesting thing is that Waltz and Ratcliffe, in their defense, tried to make the argument that Signal was already being used at the CIA and other agencies to kind of downplay the significance of this. We're talking about the heads of these critical agencies here, DNI, CIA, the Department of Defense, using a basic, what I would call a basic, no matter how sophisticated the encryption might be, just a basic over-the-counter app that you can get from any Apple store or Google Play Store.
Exactly. This is they're not only supposed to be better than this, because any junior officer or really rank and file member of any of these agencies would be fired, potentially imprisoned for this kind of breach of operational security. But then you talk about the heads of the agencies, and for one of them to say that he has no idea how this happened, like it's simple. You created a text chain using a commercial app, and you decided to discuss war plans and targeting information rather than doing what typically the adults in the room do, which is go to the sit room and have a meeting, hash this out, and come out with a conclusion. This is a several days long chat when conceivably they're just texting on the side of other meetings. I mean, what kind of gravity are they putting on United States engaging in warfare in the Middle East, right? So there's so many questions I have about the mental status, the ability to operate and function among these really critical issues for these senior leaders, and the example that they're setting, right? Any veteran right now is livid because there is nobody who has a national security or high-level clearance right now that could do what these leaders have done and get away with it. It just gets to this broader idea that this is recklessness. This is not the meritocracy. Clearly, any of the folks who have been moved out because of quote-unquote DEI concerns, CQ Brown, the head of the head of the Coast Guard. Neither one of them ever did anything like this. So lots of questions I have, and none of them are really about the responsibility of the reporter, who probably operated as discreetly as possible given the situation.
You know, it's not a surprise, Luke, that Mike Waltz has attacked Jeffrey Goldberg, but he's now gone a step further, saying he had no idea how this loser got into his contacts. Let me play for you this clip. Watch.
Of course, I didn't see this loser in the group. It looked like someone else. Now, whether he did it deliberately or it happened in some other technical mean is something we're trying to figure out.
I mean, that is quite a line from Mike Waltz to kind of obfuscate what I think most basic teenagers in this country know: how to create a group chat. The idea that somehow Jeffrey Goldberg managed to kind of hack Mike Waltz's phone and get on the app and get into this specific group chat, it just kind of screams, I don't know what it screams, but it's like hard to believe.
It strains credulity, because anybody who's ever set up a Signal chat knows that the numbers pop up in the Signal chat based on already being in your phone, right? And I heard the president say that it was on a staffer's phone, and so maybe it was a staffer's number. There's potentially some other explanations here, but you know, one would think that that number was already in the phone that was being set up on, and Mike Waltz says that he set up the chat, so it's hard to see how it would have gotten in the phone without him. I will say, I do think one thing that stands out about the chat is how political it was. They're talking about an airstrike here, and there's a lot of discussion about the politics of that and how the politics will play, and it just struck me that one thing it really revealed, to me at least, is how these really monumental national security considerations are very much being affected by political considerations.
Political consideration, almost without regard to the lives of what was actually happening on the ground, the innocent people killed in Yemen. Nayara, a watchdog group is suing the group chat members over adherence to the Federal Records Act. Is that an overlooked part of this scandal, that government officials using Signal, which also has a disappearing feature, is effectively a way to hide communications from the public, especially on something this serious?
Well, it ties back to Project 2025. It's listed as one of the ways in which they should take over and modernize government is to stop using any forms of communication that can be trackable by FOIA, which is the law that allows taxpayers and the rest of us to demand and get the details of what government is doing in our name. And we've seen all sorts of information come out through FOIA requests. We've also seen all sorts of information come out from leaks that have allowed us to understand what our government is doing in a time of war. We have never seen a Signal chat or a text chain be the source of that information, because the senior leaders in there accidentally left a reporter on for the whole time. So this not only goes above and beyond the type of information that we normally would get, it actively undermines the idea of operational security and undermines this idea that the government is responsible to the public.